Hello, Charles Knapp. Today, we're going to be talking about the Chicago puzzle of Byron Preiss. And now this puzzle has been solved. The reason we are talking about it is for localization. Unfortunately, the young men that found this cask had to dig for like 6 months or so. They dug quite a few holes, found it when a shovel was thrown up against the side of a hole and the dirt collapsed, exposing the cask. So what we're going to show are there are clues from the back of the book that help localize this puzzle. And this is the main painting. It goes with Chicago. And all of this was correctly identified as Chicago, and this was also identified as being very near the final dig site, the dig spot. Also, looking at this in general, there's an awful lot of lines here, here. So there's some clues in here that we haven't found yet regarding localization. We're going to explore a little bit of that today. And if you figure out the final clues, putting us over the top, then feel free to post that in the comments section. Let's get started. Here's the verse. Again, we're not going to cover all of this. It's been covered many times, and you can find that online. We're interested in the final dig spot. And this is part of the final, locating the final dig spot. So is this part right here. And this has not been, as far as I'm concerned, has not been ever addressed properly for why that word is there, hush. Okay, so the young men that found this cask identified this fence right here with this arc, and I'm calling this the fixture. And this is a very nice photo of that, and we're going to cover that here in a little bit. But in JJP's painting, this was identified as a match, and you can see it's pretty clear. So let's go to the back of the book, because the back of the book, what that back does, and I'm calling the cartoons and the wording in the back as back of the book. What the cartoons, the art drawings do, is they localize for each puzzle. But you have to find out which city, and then once you're near the dig site, then identify and make the connections. Oh, let's get started. So you start looking by words in here, and I just went ahead and underlined some phrases here. They won't mean anything until we get into this puzzle. But you can see it says out from between parked cars. Limbs are severed. Germans, fond of dogs and children. Grim brothers, which children escape, and the unspeakable ends to which adults all come. Flying through the windshield. And train wreck, gator. Well, train that's a nod to rumble at the end of the verse. But we're going to look at this art right here, this drawing, and the other drawing. Let's start off by Grimm's Fairy Tales. Right here, Grimm Brothers, Germans. Grimm's Fairy Tales from 1909, this book right here. And the first thing you should notice is the artwork around the borders. It resembles the artwork in The Secret. That's not just an accident. That was intentional, and this was kind of like a template. So we have German, Grimm's Brothers, which match the wording in the kindergarten section back of the book. And then in 1976, this book came out, Alligator, and that was from Grimm Brothers. So culture is used by Byron over and over in these puzzles. Not just history, but in the art and in the culture. This is also from Grimm's Brothers. You can see the large alligator eating a dog. Remember, it mentioned dogs. we go to the movies. This was 1980. Alligator. Terror movie about an alligator in the sewer eating cats and dogs that have been used experimentally and then thrown into the sewer. And then the alligator grows to an enormous shape and terrorizes the people, and off we're running. Terror movie. Where does it take place? Chicago. Oh, yeah, coincidence, right? The alligator grows to a massive size. And then, I'm not going to go through all the plot, but setting off of explosives was how they intended to kill that alligator. Oh, by the way, you can see the whole movie on YouTube. Free. Moving to the large cartoon, we have our alligator, the kindergarten, but that's not like a normal alligator. Something happened to the front of the snout. So why is the snout shaped like that? There's a reason. Why is the child lighting dynamite? Well, they were using dynamite in the movie, and you have a box showing the corner with the dynamite. We'll get more into this art here in a second. As you can see in the movie, this is the young lady. Started out with the alligator. It was a small alligator. Ended up in the sewer. That's this lady here. This girl is this girl. Some more screenshots. There's the girl. The dynamite. She's got the dynamite. And they're dynamiting for a gator. Let's move to the smaller art, and we'll come back to some more clues and the other. But you see right here, here's your car right here. Similar car, not the same car. There's children playing the alligator in the movies between a fire hydrant and a trash can. Here's your fire hydrant, here's your trash can. This is our large gator is being represented by the kindergarten right here. And children, dogs, cats, there's all kinds of linkages here. But you have to start wondering, thinking about this. Why is this car on top of a trash can? That's impossible. This trash can has centerlined the car. And you'll see why that's important. Also, from the movie to the book, or vice versa, this policeman has gone through the windshield, and you go to the words. Remember the words? And also out from the parked cars. This car was parked. Police car came around the corner, smashed into it. There was an accident, and the policeman was exiting from the window, through the window. See right here, flying through the windshield. Also, it talks about the dogs, children escape, and the unspeakable ends to which adults all come. These children escaped from the alligator. So, we're going to get to the 10 by 13 fence and fixture central to. Look from above. Here's Grant Park. Here's where the cast was found in this corner based on the tree lines coming together at that corner. Also, the art and music was attributed to nearby buildings up here. Music, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, and then the art school down here, which, as you'll see, doesn't make any sense. If you're already in this corner and you've identified tree lines, why start talking about the buildings nearby? The rumble is part of the train. The rumble in the verse is implying the train, the rumble from the trains. But you can see here, this is a shot. The cask was roughly in this area over in here. This was identified as fixture. May or may not be the fixture talked about in the verse. maybe this one, but I'm identifying as this structure right here, fixture right there. And of course, closer up, you can see that this is not centered right now. You see there's more space here than here. This one is closer to the central line, the line emanating straight off of this 90 degree to the fence. And if we get this space equal to this space, then you're right on the line coming off of that fixture. So you'd be central to fence and fixture. That, I believe, is the correct interpretation. And you can see here, now if you really get close, these are not exactly the same, but I believe the implication was that Byron and JJP wanted this to be your guide, a line of position coming off of there, straight out from that. And you can see the car, again, high centered on this arc right here. You got an arc right here, and the child is centered right under that arc. That's why that nose is shaped like that, to give us that arc. You can see it here. The arc right here, and the child is centered right under that arc. But there are more clues right here. Always look where the fingers are pointing, and you come over here and you can see a 5. 5 to me means 5 feet, 5 feet out. And you also have a corner of the dynamite box. So I believe that the tree lines formed the corner, and that's the implication. So 5 feet from the fence and fixture, and then tree lines coming from the corner of the 10 by 13 clue. And that's shown here, that the 10 by 13, and the fence and fixture being the unique fence that you see there with the, looks like an obelisk there. If you're familiar with navigation, you know what a fix is. And an estimated position is 2 lines of position that meet. A fix would be 3 lines of position that come together in a very tight point. That would be a fix. Also, if you had a line of bearing plus a distance plus another line of position. We're not going to get too far into that, but just know that a fix is when the lines come together at a point. So I think there was a play on word with fixture. Byron was using play on words. Fixture meaning get a fix. Find your fix. Of tree line, that would be in 1 line of position. Tree line next to the fence, coming down another line of position. That would be an estimated position of those 2 points. And it's very hard to get an exact position with just 2 lines of position, especially with trees, trying to line them up. And that's why it took the young men so long to dig up that cask. They had to dig a lot of holes. They didn't have an exact position. They had an estimated position. So if you combine all this together, here's one navigational clue centered on fence and fixture, and then the 2 tree lines. And that should give you an exact position for the cask. Here you can see these may be indicating fix. Circle with a dot in it. I don't know. But you certainly have a high-centered car, a high-centered a kid down here with his dog, and they're on the center there. So that's where all those clues fit together. Fence and fixture, central to. Play on words, central to. There's our fence and fixture. And so let's see, we're going to cover a little bit more here because there's a little bit more to go. So what we're trying to do now is line these up to find if there are any additional clues coming down from the arc, coming down central to fence and fixture. And you can see I drew a line coming down through here. So we have the 5 over here, a line coming down. We have a line coming down here. Well, guess what? There's also sharing of clues in the back of the book. In Tinkerbell's, you'll find "in your ear" in all capital letters. And this actually is referring to 2 puzzles with clues in the ear. There might be more. And if you follow this arc and follow a line down, we find something right in that ear right there. You look closely, there's a 5. Follow the shadow line, that's a 5 in that ear, in your ear. So that clue is telling you in your ear, and it comes straight down from there. So another 5. So it's 5 feet. Now we have another word down here we still have to explore. What is the meaning of hush? Why is that in there? Part of the very last part. No one has explained that. Okay, we talked about the cast being in this corner, the music, and the art, and a rumble. Why hush, though? And also, why pick out some building way over here that you really don't need to have in the puzzle at all? Why put these in there once you're in the corner? Again, here's why. Here's hush. 1976, if you prefer the Herman's Hermits had an earlier version, 60s, but I like the Carpenters better myself. And you young people, I'm sorry, you missed the boat. Maybe you've heard some of these songs. Music. That's why hush is in there. And music is in the puzzle. Remember? Music. Guess what the lyrics are? Get closer now and you will see. The only sound that you will hear is when I whisper, "in your ear." That's why that clue is in there. It's telling you to look in the ear for clues. Hush works together with music. Carpenters, Hermits, whatever you like. But you'll find a 5. Again, 5 here, 5 in your ear. Okay. So if we're to look at this from the top, looking down, you have your tree lines coming together, giving you an estimated position. 5 feet from the fence line, which you can't really see, 5 feet this way, perpendicular to fence and fixture, is where your X is. And unfortunately, these clues weren't recognized until after the cask was found, which, you know, I don't mind people doing a lot of digging. I've done so much digging, it's ridiculous. But, you know, if you want to save yourself some digging, find all the clues first. Okay. So, there's some questions still remaining. If you count the lines here, there's 13 right here. If you remember the clue, 10 by 13. This is 13 lines. I don't know if this is representing a tree line, but if you look at this magical, I don't know what you'll call this, medallion, it has 2 center lines coming off of it. One center line goes to the corner of 13. The other center line runs up to number 5. I don't know why the warts are drawn like this. It has something to do with maybe Grant. Maybe it's also a small map, or ties in with these. And the other thing is, you follow this down from the center line. You'll see it goes through the corner of the eye and the corner of the nose to the end of all of these lines. So I'm not sure how this all fits together. That's for you to decide and to remark in the comment section if you so desire. But it's nice to get all of these answered, all of these clues figured out, it may help us in the other puzzles. That's why we're doing it. So with that, I'll leave you there with questions remaining. But as you can see, this right here comes from the art and evaluation and using the back of the book to find these numbers and to find these clues. Thank you. Have a nice day.